Hi, welcome to this new demo of the Cardano transaction editor. The Cardano transaction editor is a tool that lets you interact with the Cardano network using a text editor instead of the Cardano CLI, the command line interface. The advantage of this approach is that you can edit your transactions instead of learning how to use instructions to craft them. I think the declarative method provided by this tool is much more efficient and intuitive. As you all know, Cardano is a proof-of-stake network, where every participant in the network that has a stake is allowed to participate in the block production. Although this task is open to every participant, it might not be adequate for every user. That's why we have stake pool operators, which collect the stake of various participants and with that aggregate stake participate in the block production. Thus, for you as the general user, it is important to know how to register your stake to the Cardano network and how to delegate it to your preferred stake pool. Finally, once the stake pool operator has claimed rewards for his work, you also have a right to claim a fraction of those rewards as you have delegated your stake to your stake pool operator. This will be the focus of this demo. Let's create now a transaction where we register our stake address and delegate to a staking pool. As usual, the function cardano-new launches the transaction editor. We first select one of our available UTXOs and our change address. On itself, this is a very straightforward value transfer transaction. One input, one output. We consume this and we send this to the new address. To register our stake, what we do is we call the certificate templates. In general, you can upload any certificate you want. It's a generic function. However, for common operations like registration of stake and delegation, there are preset entries as well. In this case, if I want to register my stake address and I want it to be the default stake address that the editor produces for you, this is the only entry you need. Would you do multiple delegations to multiple stake addresses, you would need to specify which staking verification key file you are willing to register. And in the case of deregistration, so that you get your deposit back, you would activate this flag. But this is just the initial procedure where we register. And I will use the default. Same is true for delegation. Now for delegation, I need to specify to which pool. I have selected in the testnet, which is where I'm working, this very generic stake pool, which seems to be active, producing blocks, and paying to the delegators. So I will copy its spec32 pool ID and paste it on the editor. And this is all you need. If you were to press Ctrl-U, Ctrl-C, Ctrl-C, this is the transaction that the Cardano CLI will craft for you, where you have registration and delegation, fees, input, output. That's pretty much what I have been trying to do. You can also compare that the staking key, the staking credential I am registering, indeed matches the credential I have within my address. So this is a way to cross-verify that I'm actually registering one of my addresses in my wallet, that this will be part of my stake. So let's go back. Additionally, the editor has a log where you can keep track of all the commands the editor submitted to the Cardano CLI in case you want to inspect how things were done. Querying the tip, querying UTXOs, generating the delegation certificate, building the transaction, everything is here in case you want to use this for a different purpose, just to learn how the editor is doing it, or if you want to package this in a script of yours later on. So let's go back to the transaction. To submit it, as usual, I would press Ctrl+C, Ctrl+C, but you will see at the bottom that the transaction failed. And it failed because it missed a witness. The editor can guess which is the key you need to sign for your inputs, but same way we had it when minting tokens, it doesn't recognize what you need to sign with for the certificates. So I also need to write witness to add, and the default staking key is called stake. That's all I need. Now again, Ctrl+C, Ctrl+C, and the transaction has been submitted. The editor just jumps back to the log. I should have cleared this before, but you can still follow from the instructions that it's signed with the first key, which is where the UTXO was sitting, and it also signed with the stake key. Finally, it submits and tells you which transaction ID was used. Now that the transaction is submitted, I will look for it in the Cardano Scan Explorer, and there it is. You remember it was a direct transfer, one input, one output, and here the difference between the two is the two ADA deposit for registering my staking address and the transaction fees. So I have the staking certificate where I do the address registration, and one delegation certificate where I register to a stake pool. After some epochs, your staking address will have accumulated some rewards. The next transaction is about how to withdraw those rewards. As usual, with Cardano TX New, we launch the editor. We select the UTXO to spend and a change address. The template I am going to use is withdrawals. The transaction editor pre-fills your staking address and the amount of Lovelaces available for withdrawal. Now, as you see, 300,000 Lovelaces is not enough to even justify paying the transaction fees. But since this is a demo and I cannot really wait so long until the rewards accrue, I'm just going to spend this. Additionally, as we have seen in previously, you always have to declare the additional witness of the staking key to sign this transaction, because you need to sign the withdrawal, and the transaction editor takes care of spending out of your usual UTXO. With that, Ctrl+C, Ctrl+C, and as we see in the bottom, the transaction has been successfully submitted. Now let's look for this transaction on the Block Explorer. Again, I use Cardano Scan, and as you can see, I have a direct transfer from input to output, but I have this tab, an extra withdrawal of 0.38. Those are the 300,000 Lovelaces. That is all I wanted to show you today. Please check the GitHub repository of the Cardano Transaction Editor. Try it, and I'm happy to listen to your feedback.